Civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi, who has no control over the military, has pledged that anyone sheltering in Bangladesh who can prove they were Myanmar residents can return. "I didn't carry any ornaments or jewels," said the 35-year-old. "I've only got these documents. In Myanmar, you need to present documents to prove everything. It depends on them. There is no land ownership for those who don't have citizenship," said Kyi Alwyn, agriculture minister in Rakhine State, when asked in an interview whether refugees who returned to Myanmar could reclaim land and crops. Despite his land holdings, Myanmar does not recognize Ahmed as a citizen. Nearly all the more than 1 million Rohingya who lived in Myanmar before the recent exodus are stateless, despite many tracing their families in the country for generations. The government has not asked for help from any international agencies, who are calling for any repatriation to be voluntary and to the refugees' place of origin. Ownerless crops. The exodus of 589,000 Rohingya, and about 30,000 non-Muslims, from the conflict zone in northern Rakhine has left some 71,500 acres of planted rice paddy abandoned and in need of harvesting by January, according to plans drawn up by state officials. Kyi Alwyn, the state minister, confirmed the plans, and said there was a total of 45,000 acres of ownerless Bengali land. 24 combined harvesters operated by officials from the Agriculture Ministry will begin cutting stalks this month in areas under military control. An acre of paddy in Myanmar typically makes more than $300 at market, meaning the state will gain millions of dollars worth of rice. Human Rights Watch, HRW, Deputy Asia Director Phil Robertson, said the government should at least guarantee that the rice would be used for humanitarian support and not for profit. "You can't call a rice crop ownerless just because you used violence and arson to drive the owners out of the country," he said. Model Villages International donors, who have fed and cared for more than 120,000 mostly Rohingya internally displaced persons, IDPs, in supposedly temporary camps in Rakhine since violence in 2012, have told Myanmar that they will not support more camps, according to aid workers and diplomats. The establishment of new temporary camps or camp-like settlements carries many risks, including that the returnees and IDPs could end up being confined to these camps for a long time, said UN spokesman Stanislav Saling in an emailed response. Satellite imagery shows 288 villages, mostly Rohingya settlements, have been fully or partially razed by fires since August 25, according to HRW. Refugees say the army and Buddhist mobs were responsible for most of the arson. The government says Rohingya militants and even residents themselves burned the homes for propaganda. The hamlets where Rohingya farmers lived were not systematic, and so should be rebuilt in smaller settlements of 1,000 households set out in straight rows to enable development, said So Aung, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement. "In some villages there are 3 houses here, 4 houses over there. For example, there's no road for fire engines when fire burns the villages," So Aung said. Identity checks for refugees who lost all their documents. The government would compare their photos to those that immigration authorities have on file, said Myint Kyaing, the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population. Officials will accept as evidence national verification cards handed out in an ongoing government effort to register Rohingya that falls short of offering them citizenship. The card has been widely rejected by Rohingya community leaders, who say they treat lifelong residents like new immigrants. "We are not going to go back like this," said Mushtaq Ahmed, 57, a farmer from Myanhlut village now living in the Tenkhali refugee camp in Bangladesh, where Jamil Ahmed is also staying. "If I can go back to my house, and get my land back, only then I will go. We invested all our money into those paddy fields. They are killing so many of us with swords and bullets, and killing the rest of us like this."